In today's episode, everything you think you know about life might be a lie. We'll explore ways to bring more clarity, calm, and mindfulness into your day. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of the inspiring stories and wisdom we'll share next. Have you ever stopped to wonder how much of your life is built on assumptions you've never questioned? We grow up hearing ideas about what happiness looks like, what suffering means, and what choices are right. Yet no one ever hands us an instruction manual for life. We're all just figuring it out as we go. And often, we're making decisions based on beliefs passed down from our parents, our culture, or even random advice from people who might not know any better. Mark Twain once wrote about a dog who thought humans controlled thunder because that's how it looked from the dog's point of view. It's a funny story, but also a powerful reminder. Just because something seems true doesn't mean it is. How often do we live like that dog, assuming we understand the forces shaping our lives, when in reality, we're just guessing? If you think about it, so many of your biggest choices, your career, your relationships, your definition of success are built on beliefs you may never have examined closely. And yet, those assumptions can shape the entire direction of your life. The Buddhist message is surprisingly modern here. Don't just accept what you've been told, test it. Look at your assumptions like a scientist running an experiment. Do they lead to real happiness, or are they keeping you stuck in cycles of disappointment? What if the key to a happier life isn't about adding more things, more achievements, more money, more recognition, but simply questioning what you've always assumed to be true? Imagine what could change if you paused for a moment and asked yourself, where did this belief come from, and is it actually helping me? That's where the journey begins. Let's talk about something that often feels mysterious: karma and rebirth. For many people, these ideas sound like spiritual theories you either believe in or dismiss. But here's what's fascinating about the Buddha's approach. He never asked anyone to blindly believe him. Instead, he treated these teachings as working hypotheses. Think of them like a scientist's best theory, not absolute proof yet, but worth testing to see if it works. So, what happens when you live as if your actions truly matter? Not just today, but in a ripple effect that stretches beyond what you can see. You start making different choices. You pause before speaking harshly. You notice the weight of your thoughts. And over time, you can actually see the proof. Your relationships shift, your inner peace grows, your life feels lighter because you're intentionally shaping it.
Rebirth, whether you take it literally or see it symbolically, has the same power. Imagine that your actions today are planting seeds, not just for this life, but for countless tomorrows. That perspective creates a deep sense of responsibility and freedom. You're no longer a victim of fate, you're a gardener of your future. The Buddha wasn't interested in converting people to a belief system. He wanted people to test his teachings, like running an experiment on your own mind. Try it. Practice mindfulness, choose kindness, speak truthfully, and see what happens. The results become their own kind of proof. So, here's a question for you. What if karma and rebirth aren't just spiritual stories, but practical tools to help you live with more clarity and compassion? Wouldn't it be worth experimenting with, even if you're unsure? That's the invitation Buddhism offers. Test it for yourself. When people hear the word faith, they often think of blind belief, accepting something without evidence. But in Buddhism, faith is very different. It's not about closing your eyes and hoping something is true. It's about reasoned trust, a confidence built on what seems most likely and what you've experienced yourself. The Buddha used a powerful analogy to explain this. He compared faith to a skilled hunter tracking a bull elephant. The hunter doesn't just run into the jungle expecting to see the elephant right away. Instead, he notices footprints, scratches on tree trunks, broken branches. Each clue brings him closer, step by step, until one day he finally sees the elephant with his own eyes. That's how faith works in Buddhism. It's a gradual process. You follow the signs, you test the teachings, and over time, your own experience leads you to truth. Meditation is part of this path. You might experience deep concentration, peace, or even extraordinary states of mind. These are powerful signs, like those elephant tracks, but they're not the final goal. The real destination is something the Buddha called the deathless, a freedom beyond fear, suffering, and change. And here's the thing, doubt is normal. In fact, doubt can be useful. It pushes you to look deeper, to keep asking questions rather than settle for easy answers. The Buddha never criticized doubt. He encouraged people to investigate it, to let it sharpen their understanding. So, think of your spiritual practice as a journey of discovery. Each insight you gain is another footprint on the path. With patience, curiosity, and trust in the process, you'll eventually see for yourself the truth you've been seeking. Life is unpredictable. One moment everything feels stable, and the next a storm sweeps through, sometimes literally. Natural disasters, accidents, or sudden illness can wipe away years of dreams in seconds. We've all had those moments when life reminds us just how fragile everything is. And yet, most of us try to ignore this reality, hoping that if we don't think about it, it won't hurt as much. The Buddha, however, encouraged us to face these truths directly, not to depress us, but to set us free. He explained that our emotions come in two categories. The first is what he called householder emotions, grief, joy, and calmness tied to the ups and downs of everyday life. We're happy when we get what we want, sad when we lose it, and at peace only when things go our way. But this emotional roller coaster leaves us feeling powerless because everything around us keeps changing. The second category is what he called renunciate emotions. This isn't about giving up life, it's about giving up illusions. Renunciate grief comes from realizing we haven't yet broken free from suffering. Renunciate joy is the deep, steady happiness that comes when we make progress toward inner freedom. And renunciate equanimity is a calm that doesn't depend on circumstances, a peace that no disaster can take away. The Buddha encouraged us to transform our grief. Instead of grieving only for what we've lost, we can let that grief spark urgency, what he called samvega. This is the motivation to seek real freedom. And as we practice, this urgency is balanced by pasada, a confidence that liberation is possible because others have walked this path before us. So, here's the challenge. What if every hardship you faced wasn't just random pain, but an invitation to wake up? What if life's unpredictability is actually pointing you toward a peace that never changes? Life has a way of teaching us lessons, whether we're ready or not. The Buddha described what he called the 8 worldly conditions: gain and loss, status and disgrace, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. These aren't just philosophical ideas. They're the waves of life that every single one of us rides. One day people admire you, the next they criticize you. One month you're financially secure, and the next you're scrambling to get by. It's like the weather, always changing. Most of us chase the sunny days and run from the storms. We cling tightly to praise, comfort, and success, but when life inevitably shifts, we feel devastated. The Buddha's wisdom was simple yet profound. Instead of resisting these experiences, use them as teachers. Loss teaches you not to cling too tightly to gain. Criticism reminds you that your worth isn't defined by others. Pain teaches you empathy. Even disappointment can point you towards something deeper than temporary happiness. And here's where many of us get stuck. We try to escape pain through pleasure, thinking a new purchase, a vacation, or even a slice of chocolate cake will fix everything. But the relief is always temporary. True freedom doesn't come from controlling life's ups and downs. It comes from learning how to remain steady through them. The Buddha called this renunciate joy, a kind of happiness that doesn't depend on circumstances. You can taste it through meditation and mindfulness. In those quiet moments of stillness, you begin to realize that peace isn't something you have to chase. It's already within you. It's just hidden under layers of craving and fear. So, next time you face loss or criticism, pause and ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How can this moment shape me instead of break me? That's how suffering becomes a teacher, guiding you toward a joy the world can't take away.
Have you ever felt like your pain was unique? That nobody else could understand what you're going through? It's a natural feeling, but it can make suffering feel even heavier. The Buddha's wisdom offers a powerful shift in perspective. What if your pain isn't just your own story, but part of the shared human experience? When the Buddha reached enlightenment, he didn't just see one lifetime. He saw countless lives, endless cycles of birth, aging, and death. And through that vision, he realized something profound. Suffering isn't random. It follows a pattern, a law of cause and effect shaped by intentional actions. In that moment, his pain wasn't personal anymore. It was a universal process, like gravity. And because it was universal, it could be understood and ended. That's the key, depersonalizing suffering. This doesn't mean denying your feelings or pretending they don't hurt. It means stepping back and seeing them as part of a larger picture. Instead of thinking, why me? You begin to see, this is what it means to be human. This is how life works. That clarity takes away some of the sting. It allows you to analyze suffering, not drown in it. Think of it like being stuck in a storm. If you believe the storm is only over your house, it feels unfair. But when you see it's covering the entire region, you understand. It's not personal, it's weather, and weather passes. When you start to see your suffering in this universal light, something amazing happens. Compassion grows. You realize everyone is struggling in some way, and this empathy softens your own pain. That's the first step toward freedom, the same freedom the Buddha discovered. The Buddha's life was not a story of wandering aimlessly. It was a story of searching, testing, and finding a path that truly worked. Before his awakening, he mastered some of the highest meditative states available at the time. Imagine having such profound focus that the world seems to disappear, and yet, he realized even those states weren't the ultimate goal. They were peaceful, but temporary. They didn't solve the deeper problem of suffering. So he pushed further. He tried extreme austerities, 6 long years of starving his body, denying himself even the simplest pleasures. And yet, that too failed. It didn't lead to freedom. It only left him weak and exhausted. What changed everything was a simple memory. As a child, sitting peacefully under a tree,
he experienced a natural sense of joy and ease. That memory sparked a revelation. This gentle joy, not force, not punishment, was the key to awakening. The Buddha often used a vivid image to explain this journey. Imagine walking a narrow jungle path that finally opens into a breathtaking city filled with light. That's the Eightfold Path, and its destination is nirvana, the ultimate peace. Every meditation state, every insight along the way is a stepping stone. But stones are meant to be stepped on, not clung to. This is why the Buddha rejected the idea of goalless meditation. Meditation isn't about zoning out or sitting without purpose. It's about transformation, measurable, life-changing growth. True practice changes the way you think, speak, act, and respond to life. So if you've ever wondered, am I making progress? That's a good question to ask. Spiritual practice isn't meant to be vague. It's a journey with clear signs and a clear destination. And when you see the path clearly, every step becomes meaningful. When it comes to spiritual practice, how do you know if you're on the right path? The Buddha gave us a clear test, a kind of compass to guide us through the maze of teachings, philosophies, and self-help advice we encounter today. He said, judge a path by its fruits. In other words, look at the results. Does your practice lead to genuine, blameless happiness? Does it inspire you to act with integrity and kindness? And would the wise, those who have walked farther than you, nod in approval of your growth? A true path isn't about blind belief or chasing mystical experiences. It's about transformation. It should help you uproot greed, anger, and delusion, the three poisons that cloud our minds and cause endless suffering. If a teaching encourages arrogance, attachment, or harm to others, no matter how impressive it looks on the surface, it's not true Dharma. Real practice is always grounded in ethics, compassion, and wisdom. Think about this. So much of our happiness is tied to circumstances, other people's approval, or fleeting pleasures. The Buddhist path points to something radically different. Joy that isn't built on anyone else's suffering. Peace that doesn't collapse when life changes. That's a bold vision, isn't it? A happiness so steady and unshakable that no one can take it from you. If a spiritual path doesn't bring real results, less anger, more kindness, a calmer heart, it's time to reevaluate. Because true Dharma is practical. It's not meant to sit on a shelf or stay trapped in ancient texts. It's meant to liberate you, here and now. So ask yourself, is my path making me freer, wiser, and more compassionate? If the answer is yes, then you are walking a path worth trusting. Let's talk about emotions, not just the ones we all know, but the deeper layers the Buddha described. He divided emotions into two categories: household emotions and renunciate emotions. Most of us are familiar with the first kind. Household grief is the pain we feel when life doesn't go our way. A harsh word from someone we love, a financial loss, or the ache of illness. Household joy, on the other hand, is that rush of happiness when things go well. A promotion, a compliment, or a beautiful vacation. These emotions rise and fall with our senses, and while they're natural, they're also unstable. The Buddha pointed to another level of emotional life, renunciate emotions. This isn't about rejecting joy or becoming emotionless. It's about refining our hearts. Renunciate grief is a deep longing for freedom, a dissatisfaction that comes from realizing I'm not fully awakened yet. Far from being depressing, this grief is like hunger that motivates us to seek nourishment. Then there's renunciate joy, a joy that doesn't depend on anything outside you. It comes from cultivating generosity, wisdom, and compassion. Imagine feeling content and peaceful even when life throws you curveballs. That's renunciate joy. And finally, at the heart of it all is renunciate equanimity, a calm so steady that nothing can shake it. This is the peace of liberation, the freedom the Buddha embodied.
Think about it. What if your emotional life wasn't just at the mercy of circumstances? What if you could step off the emotional roller coaster and discover a joy that no loss can touch? That's the path Buddhism offers, a shift from emotions tied to fleeting pleasures toward emotions rooted in awakening. And it begins with seeing our emotions not as enemies, but as teachers guiding us to freedom. As we wrap up this journey, one key insight stands out. Having goals matters. In Buddhism, practice without direction isn't real practice. It's like wandering through a forest without a map. Without a goal, we risk stagnation, repeating the same mistakes, and missing the deeper purpose of our efforts. But here's the encouraging part. The goal isn't some distant, abstract prize. It's the deathless happiness that comes from awakening, the freedom of mind and heart that isn't shaken by loss, pain, or uncertainty. And the path toward it? That's the Eightfold Path, guiding us step by step with wisdom, ethical action, and mindful living. Buddhism isn't about blind faith. It's a system that invites investigation, curiosity, and intelligence. The Buddha encourages us to test teachings in our own lives, to observe the results, and to build understanding through direct experience. This is a practice rooted in self-reliance, not reliance on others' authority. So what does this mean for you, right now? It means broadening your perspective, stepping beyond immediate pleasures and pains, and learning to view life with a renunciate mindset, one that doesn't reject the world, but doesn't cling to it either. It means using your experiences, your challenges, and even your setbacks as stepping stones toward freedom. Take a moment to reflect. Are you wandering without direction, or are you moving with purpose toward a life of lasting peace? The choice is yours. Walk the path wisely, set your goals clearly, and let the journey itself teach you the true meaning of liberation. The journey of self-discovery and awakening isn't a destination, but a step-by-step path taken each day. If you want to continue exploring lessons from Buddhism to live a more peaceful life with me, hit subscribe and turn on notifications.